all set.
How's that?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Chairman Updegrove,
Here.
Mr. Bocio,
Here.
Mr. Casale,
Here.
Mr. DiPaolo.
Here.
Mr. Forma, he's going to be joining later. Ms. Johnson is not attending, and Ms. Peck said she will not be here.
We have a quorum, though, right?
2, 3, 4. We have 4 for right now, and then
We have a four's a quorum, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, just making sure. Approval of the June 28th, 24 meeting minutes. Moved by Mr. Casale, second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the financial report.
So we haven't had a meeting in a little bit, so back in August, Matt provided you with a project update, and I sent some financials. So these financials are really from from August 21st to yesterday. So for the ARPA funding, there's really hasn't been any transactions in that account except for interest income that we had. Going to the regular NORLIC operating account, we have a cash balance of $101,217.59. And there's the activity for that time period. And for the first spreadsheet you have is the phase 1 land bank budget. That's our operations administrative budget. So that is ending as of September 30th. We'll be putting in our final draw. So what we have right now that we'll be spending out this week is the $3,936.69. You see the grant fund balance. Then we'll be submitting our draw and be completing the $150,000, and we're going to be reapplying for another $150,000 to start October 1st. And then the phase 2, I can let Matt talk about, but this is I've provided you with the land bank project commitment log, which has not changed since I provided it to you back in August. Anybody have any questions about the grant? No?
Nope, I don't. Is there, yeah, I've taken a look at it before. I didn't have any questions. You need a motion for approval? Do we need to, we don't have to approve it? This
No,
is
just a review.
Okay. All right,
If you want to pull up the PowerPoint, I have a slide for Bridge Street. Thank you.
it's the, after the final draw, kind of where are we at?
With the phase 2
Yeah.
LBI,
Wait, phase 2 is not the final draw, it's the phase 1 administrative money. We're getting $150,000 for 3 grant cycles. We just completed grant cycle 2, we'll be completing it September 30th, and reapplying for grant cycle 3 for another $150,000. So that'll run from October 1st until September 30th of next year.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to, that's what I wanted to understand. All right, thank you. 78 Bridge Street, North Tonawanda.
yes. That is up here on the screen. Rob, if you want to, jump in at any point, please feel free. But I've kind of briefed a little bit about this project just to kind of give you some background. This is the fire training facility that the county owned at one time. You can see kind of the red outline of the Niagara County sign right there. And it's a contaminated site there, Forever Chemicals, PFOS, on site. So this kind of demanded that we treat it differently than all our other rehab and demolition projects. We have a demo plan that addresses those forever chemicals that HCR and HTFC asked us to put together that we use LIRO to do, that's in our RFP, which is basically ready to go out as long as this project is agreeable to all of you here. There was, a question about whether or not we could do this with grant money, because the grant does say, we can have an environmental professional attest that the site is free of environmental contamination. HCR said it was okay to do this because we're not disturbing the ground with this project. We're just taking down the concrete structures that are on a concrete pad down to that pad. So the work that we're doing is unlikely to disturb any of those contaminants except for the forever chemicals that are on the concrete material. So we have a disposal plan for that. We have a demolition plan that addresses those contaminants in the ground. They're gonna have to put down tarps. They're gonna put down, protective barrier between them and the soil. They're gonna have to hose down the materials that come out of the site to get rid of any contaminated dirt that might be on, the materials, et cetera, et cetera. It's gotta be disposed of a certain way. And we put all of that together. But the idea is really the city of North Tonawanda wants to redevelop this site. They had an RFP out for the redevelopment of this site. It's a strategic area. This is a big, this is a big win for them. And the Laura Wilson especially appreciates us doing this because they didn't know how they were going to get it done. They were told that this project was going to be about $500,000, and even with the contamination, I think it's going to be well under like 120,000 maybe. Once we get the bids, we'll find out for sure. We'll bring those back to you, obviously, but it's not going to be $500,000. And they were, they were at an impasse a little bit. So this, is an example of a project that we are doing that sort of helps alleviate a pain point for our municipal partner.
Well, the demolition is a significant hurdle in the project. And the RFPs that's been out, they've been interviewing developers. There's been 4 in the finals that they've been interviewing, and now they're gonna re-interview them again if the county council's gonna do interviews. So this is definitely moving forward. And North Tonawanda certainly appreciates it. Big help. It's good.
So are we doing anything on this, or?
I'm not sure. I think we need because it's an action, I think we need a motion for the board to do the demolition, to approve it as a project, right? Because I don't know that we've ever done that officially.
Yeah, and then we bring the bids back
And
to
then
have
we'll-
that approved to the bidder, the
So
selected
the
bidder.
vote is to move forward with the
Yeah,
project?
to do the Bridge Street demo, basically.
Any
And allow us to send out the RFP.
Right, yep, absolutely.
concerns about this? Then I'll make a motion that we move forward.
Second by Mr. Apollo.
Absolutely.
All in
That's
favor?
why I kept my mouth shut.
Aye.
All in favor?
I.
Opposed? Okay. All right, the access agreement for the Niagara Falls property.
Okay, I sent the access agreement to Katie. We have amended our current access agreement with the city of Niagara Falls to allow us to do the stabilization work that we're under phase 2 committed to doing. So if you want to scroll through the next couple of slides, I just wanted to kind of remind everybody which properties we're talking about. It's all of these residential homes in the city of Niagara Falls. This is the only mixed use structure.
Sorry,
Oh no, that's
don't
fine.
go too fast.
That one is a little bit special. The reason I wanted to pull these up again is just to kind of give you the flavor of what they all look like. All of them end up having a different dollar amount attached to them. But the point of the access agreement is really Rodriguez Group wants to move forward. We have to spend the grant money. The state wants us to have it out the door. So in order to do that and to avoid further delay with the transfer process, which is still going to go forward, we have a new access agreement that I think we just have to accept, right? And will have to be signed by the city and adopted by them, but that'll allow us to do the work on these properties. And 1129 is coming to us as well. That's gonna be added on to eventually this list as a phase, as an LBI project, so. That's why I just threw it in there. And then the rest of the slides are for my update later. That's, if anybody has any questions about the stabilization properties in Niagara Falls, I'm happy to kind of give you an idea of what's been going on too, because it has been a little bit of a process, so.
Do you want to do that in your report or?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of give you an update as to, how it's all going, but if you wanted to just, do the access agreement, first, I can kind of segue.
So what do we do? What are we looking for?
I think
An approval to sign the access agreement, an updated access agreement for stabilization.
So you need a
With the
motion
city.
for that then? All right, then I move that we approve moving forward with the access agreement.
Okay, second one, Mr. Casale. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
So we've scrolled through all our stabilization properties. The one I want to note right off the bat is the one that's just above, if you look to the left, 612 Toronto Place. Unfortunately, this is actually a demolition candidate, but this is a good example of disposition potentials for these properties. So 612 Toronto, Tom Feddison walked through, Rodriguez Group walked through, I walked through, all of us walked through, everyone agreed it's not salvageable. It looks salvageable to the front. The left side could be salvageable, but when you go into the right side and go into the rear of the building, it's just char. It's just complete char. So there's nothing really to be done with it. But this is, a good example. This building is next to the Catholic Charities properties down there on Tronalone Place. So as an organization, again, this is just an idea. I feel like that would be a great fit for that property. It's a child care facility. I'm not sure which building is what they do at that specific building, but they take up the rest of that block. So, I mean, it would be a great fit to sell to Catholic Charities, to put up a playground, something along those lines. But I kind of wanted to point this out now because we're getting to the point, once we get the access agreement and the stabilization work is done, we're going to put out an RFP, which we'll probably be talking about the next meeting for real estate services. We're going to have these homes sold and disposed of. So this one is a unique case. But I just kind of want to get us, on board with, or start thinking about, the disposition process of these stabilization properties. And then the 2010 Main Street, I wanted to kind of update on too.
What's the timeline on the stabilization properties?
So
what are we thinking is gonna be?
Rodriguez Group has given me a timeline of about 6 to 8 weeks on the actual work, once they have the approval to do the work.
Okay.
And they've got the permits.
They're
I
not completely rehabbing these properties.
Right, they're just
stabilizing,
stable.
yeah, okay.
But is the plan still to have that done before the winter?
That's still the plan,
Okay.
and it's still the goal. And it's still the goal to have it done before November,
Okay.
like way before the winter. And the permit department called me from the city of Niagara Falls, so I have to call them back and just clear up maybe a little bit of a question they have because of the transfer of ownership and who owns what, and Rodriguez Group is applying for a permit to work on a property. So all that being said, Rodriguez Group is ready to hit the ground running, and they've told me that for the last 3 weeks. So
That's a good point, man. Just for the board's information, we've been ready to go for a little while. It's just that every time we go to do something, it's a little bit of a new process, so it's difficult. So all that to say that we know that we don't have to pay taxes and fees, but that doesn't mean the water board in Niagara Falls knows that or has a process in place to address that.
Right.
Same with the city and the permitting department. So those are all been these weird little municipal hurdles that have just taken up a lot of time.
We were talking about the one that you just mentioned about the
Yeah.
water board and the water fees. I think whether it's Katie, somebody,
We need to have a meeting with them.
do you know Sean Costello? at the water board?
I do not.
So he's like, I don't know, like the acting head guy for water board. He's an attorney. He used to be there, like his title was just their general counsel.
We
That was
said
more
that
than
we
that.
need to speak with the chairman of the board, so that's our next level, is to go to the board level.
Who's brand new.
Yes,
If you've read about the shakeup.
yeah,
But someone needs to talk to him and explain this
Yep.
municipal law issue. And my guess is they'll say, oh my gosh, we never knew.
yes. Well, I mean, I guess that's been addressed with, I think, Mr. Casella, what he's saying, that's a board decision. So, like, all this to say is that it's like, you think it's just a phone call, and it's a phone call, and it's a meeting, and it's a meeting, and turns into, so now it's like a big whole process, probably gonna be a resolution. So let's just do an access agreement, get in, get the work done while we
course.
build these processes.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all being done in the spirit of getting the homes, the work done. I mean, we've got to spend our grant funds and I, on really, and this is kind of segueing into the 2010 Maine stuff I want to talk about. The idea behind a lot of what I want to accomplish is to have the work we do be very visible so that people see, oh, there's a roof going on in that home. Oh, there's windows going in that place. Oh, that's great. There's a, scaffolding going up on this building. That's great. That kind of thing. And I know it's maybe a little bit just for show, but still in all, it kind of gives the impression that things are happening.
Yep.
So 2010 Maine, just so everyone's aware, it is our only property so far that the state SHPO, the historic preservation folks, want us to submit a plan for preservation because it is a contributing structure in a historic district, a national historic district. And I think it's a state historic district too. So in any event, it's definitely historic, and so is 2018, which is the bigger building to the right. The architect that we're working with, that Rodriguez Group is working with, because they are also assisting us with this property, a scope of work, stabilization, et cetera, et cetera. His name is Ken Clapper, and I've met with him, emailed with him. He is working with Carrie Trainer. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Carrie Trainer. Carrie Trainer is like the UB professor on historic preservation. So they'll get us an answer in terms of what we can do with the building and what we can't do. But just so everyone is on the same page, Andrea and I, we've talked about this really and truthfully. Our goal with our work on the property is just to do enough to stabilize it in such a manner that it doesn't jeopardize any future owner's ability to access those historic tax credits. So whatever we do, we just kind of, is there to shore up the building. That being said, part of the development, idea is, given its proximity to 2018, and we've talked to a number of people about this, including Ken Clapper, who's our architect for 2010. If there's a larger development project that happens with both buildings, there is the potential that you could do a facade development, which would take out most of what's inside of those buildings. And 2018 is a 3-story hole through, it's a 30,000 square foot building. That hole probably takes up 9,000, 5,000 square
All
feet.
through all 3 floors.
All 3 floors to the basement.
That's where the missile went through.
And there's a tree growing through, it's a lot. So suffice it to say, this project is a larger, perhaps.
Sorry, Matt.
Oh, that's okay.
I see that he's on it, but I don't know that he can hear us. I'm
I would
sorry.
have kept talking anyway with the echo, but it's really hard to do. Anyways, the basic idea is with
Sorry, Matt.
oh, that's okay.
Sorry,
I
you
got it.
must be joined.
Must be
twice.
Joel.
Kevin, can you hear us?
Kevin, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can now.
Oh, but that's
It's doubled.
Double.
yeah. Is there
Yeah,
one in the browser?
That
and-
one. Is that
Yeah.
one?
That's
That's not-
Yeah, but that's me.
it's not, those two aren't.
Those two aren't.
As far as I know.
Can you mute just
No, we can't mute the
Oh,
live
that's the
stream.
live stream.
That's the
yeah.
live stream. Anyways, I will,
Yeah, everything you're saying is worth hearing twice.
Oh,
Don't worry about
thank
it.
thank you. And so, that I'm kind of, just giving you a bunch of details about 2010, but I did kind of want to use this opportunity to also kind of open up the discussion, not just for me to talk, but about the Main Street properties and our involvement in that. So 2010 Main represents kind of like our, ownership stake in the street, in the district, but there is the Blue Cardinal portfolio that we're helping the city deal with and address. Andrea, I don't know if you want to, talk more about it, but
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if we're,
Can't hear.
it's definitely
can't
not
hear.
ready. I think we're not at the point to make an agenda item at this point, but,
Sorry, Andrea.
Sorry, Andrew.
That's all right. So we've been working with the city. The city has been, working
Go
to
to-
acquire
Working
the
to acquire
formerly known as Blue
formerly
Cardinal
known as Blue
and the
and
Rapid
the Rapid.
So there's a lot of fronts.
Oh,
that
it's not it. I
guys
think
have
I'm in
seen.
Not it. I think I'm in.
What is this?
What is it?
I'm gonna start saying things
That's
twice
not
a
it.
year.
That's not it.
No. It's,
No.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's
because
gotta
we're
be
in here
because we're in here
twice.
twice. Do you remember when it
kicked me
Remember
out?
when?
So now I'd like to have in here.
So now I'd like to have in her.
Is
Can
nothing
you
against
call him?
Kevin.
Can we call him?
He already knows everything we're gonna say, just mute him. We'll call you.
We'll call you.
He said okay.
He said okay.
But you know what? I can't hear
But you
him.
know what? I can't hear.
All right, he's not gonna.
Do you have his phone number to put him on speaker?
I got the office.
So we've been working with the city. I think most of you know that because the county passed a resolution saying that should the city acquire the properties, the back taxes would be waived. The cataract, we have an application to the cataract fund, which is a grant funding for tourism projects that are requesting funding. They've received the Urban Renewal Agency that is in the city has received funding from the state. And the mayor has finalized negotiations with the bank for the Blue Cardinal properties. I'm not sure where he stands on Rapids Theater. I think he's getting towards the ending of those negotiations. So assuming that all those properties become acquired, we've had a conversation about setting up a committee. The land bank would be a big part of that. Matt would be the point person. The committee would review the inquiries for the properties. They would then be transferred from the Urban Renewal Agency to the land bank so we could put those safeguards in place that when we pick a developer, that we are like ensuring that there's timelines in place so they can't just hold on to the properties forever. I mean, that's a really shortened version of a lot of the work that Matt's been doing. He's been working with Joe to come up with some marketing ideas and working with Kevin to come up with some guidelines on how the city wants to identify some of these developers. So there's a lot more that's gonna go into it, but that's like a short version of what's going on.
That's why, because I'm in here. I can't get myself out.
Oh, I don't have his cell phone number.
Do you have his
thank
cell
you,
phone
Andrea.
number, Andrea?
Take a look at these.
So sorry about this. That's what it
Not
is.
your
I
fault.
have,
It's-
I have
We're
to
having
get
the
rid
same
of
problem with the IDA. It's hard to do this when you're, you know what I mean, also trying to,
live stream.
yeah. Because you're mixing a bunch of things.
This is what it is right here. Because I'm in here twice. It says not in the meeting. I don't know. I can't figure it out.
And then I guess,
I hate
just,
technology.
Is this all part of the project manager update, right?
yeah, and that's basically it. I just wanted to share a bunch, just kind of, give a general overview of where we're at with a bunch of different things we've got going on. They're they're not agenda items yet. There'll be action items that come out of all this work. But I think it's good for us all to kind of be on the same page. The other thing I did want to mention, I might have told all of you this, or some of you this individually. This past summer, went to a conference in a suite of the Land Bank, New York Land Bank Association conference. I just want to, I know we've talked about Tyler versus Hennepin and different challenges that we face and et cetera. Crystal Leffler in her presentation to all the land banks put up a diagram, a table and show it in the last 5 years, four budget years, $110 million has been allocated to land banks in the state of New York. And 12 million of it has been spent so far. So we've got a ways to go, and we've got a lot of money to do this work, is my point, is I just wanted to share that, and the more we can show that we can spend it, and I understand, obviously that's big responsibility that I have, the better off all of the land banks will be, because that's the big determinant for the state to allocate even more funding, is how quickly can the money be spent by these organizations, right? And I'm sure you all know that, but I just wanted to throw that out there as an FYI, that the money's there, and they really like the work that we do. So
Spend it quickly so we can get it again next year. Great setup.
I appreciate
I
that.
love government.
Absolutely.
Everything about it.
Katie, do you have anything?
Just two items. 6 Ashley Place in Lockport. We're just waiting. I got a call from the homeowner next door that's purchasing that lot from us. They just sent the deed back yesterday. So once I receive that back, then that'll be filed and that transaction will be complete for that demolition of that lot. So that one should be coming once hopefully in the next week we get that deed from the owner. He was in Florida, so there was some delay that they apologized for. With the regards to the Niagara Falls properties, obviously, and I know Matt touched on this, the idea was that we would be transferred the properties, and that the majority of the work that Rodriguez Group would do would be when NORLIC owns all those properties. As part of that transfer, again, something that we've run into, that we've had issues in the past in the city, where we purchase properties, we send them the deed, they send it back. Once the development enforcement mortgage is finished and they go to sell the property, there's taxes that were never cleared out, fees, things like that. So to avoid that, I sent them a contract to sign with specific timelines of when they would clear the taxes out. The city actually owns the properties, but for some reason, when they took those in their in-run process, the taxes and fees and water was never cleared out. And they've been accruing despite the fact that the city owns it. So I know in the county, once we take, everything's just cleared out. It's a different in the city, which predates everybody that's there now. So we've been trying to work through that and see how we can move that forward. So that's why we're doing, bless you, the access agreement now. So we're not trying to wait the time because it looks like when they initially approved it to come to us, it was just them transferring the properties, them assuming that everything was cleared out, and that wasn't the case. So it looks like they may do another resolution authorizing the canceling of the fees and the taxes, just to make it clear on their end to do it. So that's why we're moving forward with the access agreement as opposed to the transfer right now. Just because we want to get the work done before the winter ends and get the grant money spent. So they're on board with that. So that's just what's happening with those properties. So, and that's all I have.
Okay. I know we have an RFP out for auditing too, right? When is that turn?
The middle of October, we should be getting it back.
Okay.
So we'll have it on the October agenda to choose one.
That was the only one, right? The only outstanding RFP we have.
I believe so.
Is that what I'm
That's the only one I've put out.
Okay.
The authorization for the Bridge Street work, the RFP will go out, and that'll be mid-October. That'll be
Okay.
returnable too.
All right. So that's not out yet, but that's
Not out yet.
Okay. Does anyone have any other business? Anything else? Okay. I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Vocio. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Drive safe.
You know,
I want to get out of the parking lot. I was filming that before you
I
get in your car.
things you don't appreciate.